talk about that. Women will still sleep with a man or another woman, and I mean an idiotic man at that, with an STD, with a yeast infection, with a bacteria infection, and some of you stupid asses, y'all don't even know. Or you know it, and you still don't even care. Now, I mean, I didn't want to get so blatant or anything, but if you're giving head and it's a different taste from what you were remembering and acquired, something's got to be wrong, and you should be aware of knowing that something's not right. Okay? And if something's not right, then it's something that needs to be questioned. That's where your radar should click in and your little stop sign should come up, and you pull back, and then maybe that's when you have a conversation with your significant other or your partner at the time. You know how greedy people are, that they just want to do what they want to do and get what they want to get when it's convenient to them, and then still not even caring on the lookout as far as for others that they may come in contact with later. Do you know it's just like a cesspool of everybody just spreading their fluids around from one person to another? And where I live in Baltimore, it is very small here. We call it Smalltimore. It's a big circle and loop of people who know everybody. It's crazy, but that is basically how it's set up. It's one big circle. Now, as far as when it comes to safe sex and protecting yourself, do you know how many people could care less about that? A lot of people could care less about that. Just because you showered, sis, or my brother, you're not clean. There's stuff that's still living internally in your system. And of course, through fluids that we produce, it's being spread from one person to another. Understand, that's not safe. That's not even good. And it's not smart. But where does it come from? It's the purpose behind people not wanting to be safe and protect themselves. It's more women out here who don't want to do a birth control pill versus women who figure as though that they will do it, but they really don't want the extra hormones, and it can throw our bodies off track a lot. But they'd rather play it safe, so they'll take the precautions and deal with the risk factor. And we read different medications, especially when it comes to birth control, and they'll tell you, smoking can increase clotting and heart disease, etc. And then for a person that may smoke and then want to take birth control, they're out trying to outweigh as far as the pros and the cons to what would be best, especially if they don't want to quit smoking. But men, all you need to do is go and purchase condoms, and basically you at least have your safety insurance policy in your pocket. But y'all don't want to do that. Unreal. So I want to get into this a little bit. I want to go into a little research that I had seen and pulled from, of course, the World Wide Web. And I wanted to find out the reasons why people really don't want to use condoms. So, they work, of course, and they remain the cornerstone of safer sex practices and a major contributor to the reduction of HIV infections worldwide. So why then do only 65% of men use condoms on a consistent basis, according to a survey by the Centers of Disease Control and Prevention? And how is it that more than 20% of HIV negative men who have sex with men are willing to put themselves at risk by engaging condomless sex? Women fare no better in these statistics, okay, ladies? Of females who engage in high-risk, unprotected anal sex, a mere 11% report ever using a condom. Worse yet, women are far less likely overall to use condoms, including femdoms, than the heterosexual male counterparts. So here's a breakdown of reasons. One, it's the blame game. So it's the ignorance, the apathy, and the irresponsibility, which may be the standard knee-jerk response. But that's a far too simplistic judgment for what is, in fact, an incredibly complex psychological or social issue. But in truth, there are a number of intersecting reasons for the decreased use of condoms among adults and young people. And they include everything from, how they feel about them and what they believe about HIV and how they negotiate sex and relationships and how vulnerable that they believe that they are to be getting any type of infection, and even how adept they are actually using the condoms itself. So dissecting these issues, it's basically crazy, and made worse by the cultural tendency to assign blame to those who we see as the vectors or the sources of HIV infection. And rather than opening up the conversation, we tend to pretty much shut it down, like we do with a lot of things that we just don't want to talk about or it seems uneasy. Potentiating risk behavior in those who would rather remain silent than face public derision or disapproval. Okay? And at risk before we even start. The knowledge and power are the two factors that can affect genders and at a risk populations considerably, often in very different forms. They not only direct why we make the decisions we do, but they also help explain why we sometimes put ourselves at risk against our otherwise better judgment. So the knowledge is not simply about our understanding of HIV as a disease, but our personal belief as to how susceptible we are to infection as individuals. And this is called perceived risk, which is a component of the so-called health belief model. The condom bias is the same Emory University study which revealed that nearly a third of the men surveyed reported that they had lost an erection after putting a condom on. Negative associations and attitudes about condoms, known as condom bias, have long muted the safer sex message, and they reflect both real and perceived barriers that can prevent people from using condoms, even when the risk of transmission is known. So as a result, many decide to trade off between the potential risk and the consequences that they associated with condom use. And the examples include lack of sexual spontaneity, unpleasant taste and smell, reduction of sexual pleasure for both men and women, and a loss of erection as well. The condom use may be seen as a declaration of distrust or infidelity. Condom use may be seen as a sign of sexual promiscuity, and the fear of being identified as high risk or as part of a stigmatized population, like in the example of men sleeping with men or injecting drug users. Okay. The condom fatigue. By contrast, condom fatigue, also known as prevention fatigue, is a term used to describe the general weariness felt by those who have tired of condom use. It reflects the decreased effectiveness of prevention messages and is often associated with the increased transmission rates in males sleeping with male populations, although it directly impacts all population groups. So an increasing awareness about the benefits of the antiretroviral therapy has led many to seek alternatives to condoms. Chief among these is the issue of treatment as prevention, a principle by which an HIV positive person is less likely to transmit HIV and the viral load is undetectable. So the possible strategies to reinforce condom use is, if you are unaware of your HIV status and sexually active, get tested today. There are plenty of places you can go and get tested for free. The research has shown that knowing one's status generally increases the sense of responsibility. Rather than addressing HIV in general terms, find information in plain language on the specific HIV risk in women, African Americans, males sleeping with males, etc., which can often be found at your nearest women's health facility or even your LGBT centers or public clinics. There's also sexual education interventions, including instructions on the proper use of condoms and avoidance of common mistakes. And don't count out the female condom either, which Planned Parenthood asserts can enhance sex play, since the external ring may stimulate the clitoris during vaginal intercourse. right? So, condoms also provide protective control to women who might be less able to negotiate safer sex. By and large, reducing the numbers of sex partners correlates to higher condom use. Studies suggest that this is also reduces the likelihood of anonymous sexual encounters, while encouraging greater discussion about sexual health and HIV prevention. And of course, my last one is recruiting sexual contacts online often results in the practice of using online information to make decisions or assumptions about a person's HIV status. That's zero sorting is what it's called. Instead of relying on profile information, take the opportunity to actively discuss HIV and other health issues before meeting. All right, so I'm going to take a break one moment. I'm going to get me something to drink. It is burning up in my little studio right now, aka my office. And I will be back with you. And I want to continue to get into the rest of the topic as to the 7 reasons why women hate condoms even more than men. Can you believe that? That is unreal. All right, stay tuned to K. Renee Show.